If you're in Toronto real estate right now, either a buyer, seller, or a move up family, 2026 is not the relief year people are waiting for.
You have to go back to the year 2000 to find Toronto home sales lower than they are right now. In 2021, sales peaked at more than 127,000. Last year, that number plummeted to roughly 62,000, according to the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board.
Say that the economic uncertainty could lead to prolonged pain for many.
And the reason is uncomfortable. The market isn't going to snap back. It's going to squeeze. And the squeeze is going to hit the exact people who feel like they're doing everything right. First-time buyers, first-time sellers, and those families trying to move from a condo or condo townhouse into a house without blowing up their finances. Here's the part nobody is saying out loud. The thing you're hoping will save you in 2026 might actually make it worse. And I'll prove it with the numbers. There's one move Toronto sellers are making more and more right now because they're not getting their price. It sounds smart. It feels smart. But it creates a second problem that can force another price cut later. And most people don't see it until they're already trapped. If you catch it early, you protect yourself. If you miss it, you pay for it. Let's break this down properly. We're heading in 2026, and people are still asking the same thing. Is Toronto going to get better, or is it going to get worse? And the uncomfortable answer, based on what's already baked in, is 2026 is up to be another difficult year for Toronto housing. Not because of the headlines, because of structure. And once you understand how the pieces fit together, it becomes very clear why relief is not coming from where people think it is. So I'm going to do this like a puzzle. I'll give you the pieces. Then I'll show you the picture they make. And once it clicks, you'll understand the real danger in 2026. So here's puzzle piece number one. Toronto didn't crash. It turned into a negotiation market. Let's start with what the market just told us. TRREB's year-end numbers showed 2025 was weaker than 2024. 2025 sales were about 62,000. That's down 11%. New listings, there were 186,000 new listings. That's up 10%. And the average price is just sitting about $1,067,000. That's down 4.7%. In December 2025, right at the handoff into 2026, sales are down year over year too. That combination matters because it means more choice, less urgency, more negotiation. And when negotiation becomes normal, something changes in people's brains. Sellers stop controlling the story. Buyers start writing the ending. Now, hold on to that thought because this is the first trap move-up families fall into. But first, we have to talk about rates because that's the foundation of everything. Here's puzzle piece number two. The rate story isn't what people want it to be. Toronto buyers are still clinging to this idea. Once rates drop, everything will come back. But heading into 2026, the Bank of Canada held the policy rate at 2.25 in its December 10th, 2025 decision. So now, I'm not here to predict what Bank of Canada will be doing. What I'm saying is this. People are waiting for a rescue that needs to be big to actually change behavior. A tiny improvement doesn't create a stampede because the Toronto buyers isn't just asking, can I qualify? They're asking, do I want to live like this? And if your payment still feels like you're wearing a backpack full of bricks, you don't suddenly get excited because the backpack got 2% lighter. You still feel crushed. So even if rates move, you still have a major problem. Sellers are pricing like it's 2021. Buyers are buying like it's 2026. That mismatch is the enemy. And mismatch creates the next piece, inventory that doesn't clear fast enough. Puzzle piece number three, the condo market is the pressure point. Now we talk about the part most people don't want to talk about in Toronto, condos. Condos are not just condos. Condos are entry point for first-time buyers, the launch pad for move-up families, and a huge holding zone for investors. So here's the thing. When condos get sticky, It doesn't stay contained, it spills. And Toronto has an extra twist here that makes 2026 potentially worse. The new condo market froze. According to data from Build and Atlas, data showed that in September 2025, only 50 new condos sold in the city of Toronto. You heard that right, 53. And 155 new condos sold across the GTA. Well, that was roughly 90% below the 10-year average. This is not a normal slowdown. This is the market saying, not at these prices, not with these payments. And here's why this matters for 2026. When new condos don't sell, projects get delayed or canceled. That impacts supply later. But in the short term, it also messes with investor expectations and resale competition. And that leads directly to the seller move I teased in the opening. Because when sellers don't get their price, they do one of two things. One, they cut price, or they say, fine, I'll rent it out. And in Toronto, that rented out move is getting riskier. Puzzle piece number 4. The rental escape hatch is not what it used to be. Here's where it gets spicy. A lot of Toronto owners are trying to avoid selling into a weaker market by pivoting into rentals. And they're thinking, I'll just rent it out for a year and then sell when things improve. But the rental market is not a guaranteed safety net anymore. CMHC 2025 rental market reports show GTA purpose-built rental vacancy rate increased to 3%. 3%. CMHC also note more competition from rented condos. CMHC also notes more competition from rented condos, and that many newer buildings offer incentives like free rent months. That's a big shift because when vacancy rises, incentives appear. The rental market stops being name your price. It becomes compete for tenants. And if you're an owner who's renting to avoid a price cut, here's the trap. If you rent out your unit, you lock into a rent level that might be lower than what you hoped. You take on vacancy risk. And here's the big one. You reduce your flexibility to sell cleanly later. Because right now, the condos that are selling are the ones that are either vacant or owner occupied. It's not that renting is bad. It's that renting as an escape plan becomes expensive when the rental market is easing. And CMHC even notes turnover rent declines in 2025 with more incentives and more tenant mobility. This is what I mean by the thing you're hoping will save you can make it worse because it delays the decision while adding risk. Now we connect it to the bigger pain point in Toronto, move-up families. If you're a move-up family, your life is not run by markets up or down. Your life is run by the gap. The gap is the difference between what you sell for and what you buy for. And Toronto move-up families are stuck in the worst emotional situation. Your condo or condo townhouse feels softer. The house you want still feels expensive. And you're thinking, if we move, are we making a mistake? And here's the trap. Families list their current place too high because they need a number. Then it sits. Then it sits more. Then they cut once. Then they cut the prices again. Every week it sits, buyers get bolder. So the sale loses leverage. But the family home they actually want, the good street, the good layout, the good school district, those don't always discount the way people expect. So the gap blows out. Not because the family is dumb, but because the family is fighting the market instead of working with it. And this is why 2026 can feel worse than 2025. Not because there's one dramatic crash day, but because it becomes a slow grind where the wrong strategy bleeds money. So let's talk strategy. Because this market rewards clarity. What 2026 rewards and what it punishes. Here's a theme for 2026 in Toronto. Realism wins, denial loses. And that applies to buyers and sellers. If you're a first-time buyer, you're going to have more negotiating power than you had in a long time. But here's the warning. A slow market is full of almost good deals. Bad layout, bad building, high monthly maintenance fees, weird resale risk. First-time buyers get tricked into buying the discount instead of buying the quality. So your goal isn't the cheapest. Your goal is the best value lowest regret. Because in 2026, regret is very expensive. If you're a first-time seller, your enemy isn't buyers. Your enemy is a fantasy price from last year. In a negotiation market, testing the market is how you lose money slowly. Because sitting doesn't just waste time, it makes buyers assume something's wrong, even when there's nothing wrong. If you're a move-up family, your mission is not to win the sale. Mission is to control the transition. That means you don't fight on one side of the equation and ignore the other. You control the gap, and here's how. Here's the decision framework that prevents the biggest expensive mistake in a slow grind market. Don't wait without a plan. Waiting can be smart, but waiting aimlessly is how people drift into worse outcomes. So here's the framework in plain language. If you're selling, you control price, presentation, and how you compare against the competition. Your job is to be the obvious choice, not the maybe. If you're buying, you control quality of what you choose, how you negotiate in your terms. Your job isn't to predict the market. Your job is to buy a home you can hold through uncertainty. If you're moving up, you control the gap. You win by aligning both sides. Sell clean, not slowly. Negotiate hard where the market allows it. And stop trying to win emotionally on price. Because the market doesn't pay you for emotions. It pays you for execution. Here's my should we act in 2026 checklist. If you're trying to decide whether 2026 is your year, ask yourself this honestly. Is your income stable for at least the next 12 to 24 months? Can you handle today's payment without lifestyle panic? And here's the last one. Is your reason to move real? We're talking about space, kids, life, or is it just frustration with the market? Are you flexible on at least one of these variables? Location, layout, timing, or finishes? If you're selling, are you willing to price to win and not price to hope? Those are two completely different things. If you mostly said yes, you can make a smart move in 2026. If you're mostly saying no, waiting might be smart, but only if you're waiting with structure. Because Toronto doesn't forgive drifting, and drifting is what makes 2026 feels worse. So the headlines going to 2026 is not Toronto crash, it's Toronto squeeze. 2025 showed us demand soften and listings rose, creating a negotiation market. The Bank of Canada ended 2025 holding at 2.25. So the rate rescue story isn't guaranteed to be fast or dramatic. The rental market is easing in the GTA with a 3% purpose-built vacancy rate. So that means those rental buildings are seeing about 3% vacancy, and incentives are becoming normal. So the just rent it out is not the clean escape plan it used to be. New condo sales freezing is a structural warning sign for Toronto housing ecosystem. That combination doesn't create instant doom. It creates prolonged friction. And prolonged friction is what exhausts people and forces bad decision. That's a panic, not one dramatic day. A year where the wrong strategy quietly drains you. You made it this far. Comment first-time buyer, first-time seller, or move-up family. And depending on how many comments I get for each category, I'll make a video based on that category. If you want my next episode to be tactical, tell me which one you want me to base it on. Condos, condo townhouses, semi-detached, detached homes. Let me know. More than happy to get some input from the audience, and I'll create a video just for you. And you found this very helpful. Like this video and subscribe for more videos just like this. Thanks again for watching. See you soon.